Hello and welcome back. Last week we spoke about development of oil and gas fields. We discussed various well patterns, necessity of good quality simulation and many other aspects. Today we'll start discussing the process that is essential for any oil and gas field development. Without this process, you will never be able to reach the petroleum deposits. I talk about drilling. Who drills wells? How do we do it? What tools do we use? Why drilling is considered such a complicated and often dangerous process? This week, you learn all about it. But let us start with some history. According to archaeologists, about 25,000 years ago, ancient people already learned to drill holes in stone parts of their weapons and tools to attach handles to them. For this purpose, they used flint drills. Ancient Egyptians used drilling, then they built pyramids 6,000 years ago. The Chinese started drilling water wells at least 600 years before the Common Era. That is proven by written sources. They used percussion drilling, a technology when you hit the ground repeatedly with a heavy cutting tool. Some ancient Chinese wells were as deep as 900 meters. Apart from water, wells were used to obtain salt. However, we know that about 250 years before the Common Era, there were gas wells in Sichuan. Again, these gas were used to evaporate salt. First documented Russian wells were also used for salt production. They were drilled in the 9th century around the town of Stara Russa. Lots of wells dated 15th to 17th century are found around the town of Solikamsk. Soli is the Russian for salt. These wells were as deep as 100 meters and their initial diameter was about 1 meter. The walls of such wells were very unstable. To brace them, people used either hollow tree trunks or willow bark-made pipes. Since 19th century, they started using metal pipes. As drilling tools for crushing rock and dipping wells, they were followed by such pipes which were later called casing. With time, pipe manufacturing technology became more sophisticated. Riveted pipes made of metal sheets were replaced by seamless, solid run pipes with threading. In the USA, the first well was drilled in 1806 next to the town of Cherryston, West Virginia. Again, it was used to produce brine, strongly saturated salt solution. 20 years later, in 1826, when people were drilling for brine around Burnsville, Kentucky, they accidentally found oil. The first documented cases and drilling was used to search for oil are dated 1813 in the Russian region of Taman. Before digging oil wells, which were rectangular at the time, oilmen conducted preliminary exploration in the following way. They bored a small hole, adding water for easy operation, then pulled the bore out and checked for oil sites. If oil was present, they started digging, not drilling, a rectangular oil well. In December 1844, local authorities of Transcaucasian region, which was a Russian major oil province, suggested to the government using drilling technology to deepen existing wells and explore for oil in other areas. In 1846, the Ministry of Finance allotted the required funds, and major drilling operations started. The results came soon. According to a report, a well drilled in Bibi Heybad found oil. It was the first oil well in the world. Not long before that, in 1846, the French engineer Favel came up with a method of continuous wellbore cleaning. The idea was to pump water into the wellbore, the water would flush it and bring rock debris up to the surface. Soon, this method became popular as it allowed non-stop drilling. It should be noted, however, that Favel first used these methods to drill for artesian water, not for oil. The first oil well in the USA was drilled by Edwin Drake in 1859 near the town of Titusville, Pennsylvania. Drake worked for Seneca Oil Company, and after 2 months of continuous work, his crew drilled a 22-meter well which hid oil. Many countries associate the birth of national petroleum industry with the first commercial oil well drilled. Thus, in Romania it happened in 1857, in Canada in 1858, in Venezuela in 1863. In Russia, it was generally thought that petroleum industry was born in 1864. Then Ardalion Novoseltsev started drilling the first oil well in Kuban. Its depth was 55 meters. At the turn of the 20th century, gasoline and diesel engines were invented, and these boosted the development of petroleum industry. In 1901, the USA was the first to introduce rotary drilling with circulation system to petroleum industry. In Russia, rotary drilling was first used in 1902 to drill a 345-meter deep well close to the city of Grozny. One of the greatest challenges in rotary drilling was sealing the annular space between the well walls and the casing. In 1906, it was solved by Russian engineer Bugashevsky, who suggested pumping 7 slurry into the casing pipe and squeezing it into the annular through the bottom part of the casing. These cementing techniques soon became a common practice in both in Russia and abroad. In 1923, the graduate of our university, which was then called Tomsk Institute of Technology, invented the downhole mud motor, which created new possibilities for drilling oil and gas wells. This graduate's name was Matvey Kapelushnikov, and the one-step mud motor he invented, named Kapelushnikov mud motor, drilled its first well in 1924 in Azerbaijan. Mud motors played a special role in the development of deviated drilling technology. The first deviated, that is non-vertical well, was drilled in 1941 in Azerbaijan. Development of mud motor drilling made it possible to produce oil from under the sea or cross-country areas such as Western Siberian swamps. It is done in the following way. First, we construct a relatively small pad, which is much cheaper than building a separate pad for each vertical well. And from this pad, we drill several deviated wells. This is called a well cluster. In 1937-1940, a team of Russian engineers developed a new type of downhole motor, which was powered by electricity. So, I told you about the history and development of drilling. In our next video, we will talk about how wells are drilled today, what are the methods, challenges, and limitations of modern drilling. See you!